This program is made by MPT to enrich the diverse communities throughout our state and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the MPT Sports Desk. I'm Jim Hunter, joined by my co-host Mark Gray. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to set up a day of sports programming right here on MPT.
First off, at 1 p.m., it's Bowie State battling Virginia State in a CIAA conference football matchup as these two traditional powerhouses fight for the top spot in the conference.
And then later on at 5:30, MPT will continue its four-day coverage of the Maryland Five-Star at Fairhill in Cecil County. This is one of the largest and most prestigious equestrian competitions in the world. Right now, let's take a look at what makes a five-star competition and a five-star course.
As a three-day event rider, the ultimate goal in life is to compete at the five-star level. It's the absolute pinnacle of the sport.
The jumping efforts on a cross-country course for five-star is between 40 and 45 jumps. And that includes water, uphill, downhill, into space, all sorts of different types of fences. It's a serious challenge for all the top horses and riders in the world. And I, for one, can't wait to get underway.
For the past 25 years, I was in a baseball broadcast booth announcing baseball games. But this past week, I had a chance to experience my first equestrian event at Maryland Five-Star. Earlier, we explained what Five-Star is all about. But before we show you some of the highlights of the action, we want to help you learn more about the competition by taking you inside each event. Let's take a look.
Three-day eventing is basically a triathlon. On the first day is the dressage, which is sort of the gymnastic floor routine, where the judges mark points of softness and relaxation.
real heart and the meat of it is the cross country, where horses and riders are galloping across this beautiful rolling terrain and jumping over massive obstacles that you are not going to believe the size of when you actually get to walk up close to them. final day is the real nail biter, when the show jumping is what ultimately decides who's going to win. And it doesn't take much to tap one of those show jumping rails when the horses are a bit tired after that big effort the day before.
Now let's get you caught up on a few of the highlights from the dressage competition earlier this week, in case you missed it.
The wait is finally over. The Maryland 5-star at Fairhill joins the world's calendar of 5-star events as the 7th only at this very top level. The first day of dressage saw Lynn Szymanski and RF Coolplay lay down a score of 28.0. Lynn rode this horse to an individual silver medal at the Pan American Games in Lima in 2019 and steps the horse up now to the first time at the 5-star level. Interestingly, this combination ended up on the same score, and they were also individual silver medalists at Pan American Games level. Hannah Sue Burnett and Harbour Pilot, who took that accolade back at Guadalajara in 2011. Since then, this horse has become a stalwart of the US eventing scene and the 5-star level, and looking 18 years young to share the lead at that stage. But then one of the overseas raiders, recent member of the gold medal winning team at the Olympic Games for Great Britain and world #1 at the moment, a 2-time winner of the Kentucky 3-day event at the 5-star level here in North America. With this horse, Cooley Masterclass, Oliver Townend took over the lead on 21.1, a massive advantage after day one, with cross-country ahead of these competitors on Saturday. But there are plenty who could chase down that gap and that lead tomorrow here at Fairhill. But after day one, Oliver Townend and Cooley Masterclass are our leaders. Hannah Sue Burnett and Lynn Szymanski with that equal second place. Jenny Brannigan for the USA sits fourth. Buck Davidson and Carl Avo, the very first in the ring, sits fifth. And Jessica Phoenix flies the flag for Canada towards the top of the board with Bogue Sound. But it is very, very close packed behind them. There's a lot to be done with cross-country coming up on Saturday. This is going to be far from a dressage competition, but the dressage lead is with world #1, Oliver Townend for Great Britain here at the Maryland 5-star at Fairhill.
Joining me now is Cynthia Miller. She's the director of the Office of Strategic Partnerships with the Maryland Office of Tourism. Cynthia, we appreciate you joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Jim, and thanks for having me here today.
Now, what kind of impact, Cynthia, does a world-class event like a 5-star have on Maryland and Cecil County in particular?
Oh, my goodness. Well, our economic impact projections are estimating that at least $11 million of ancillary revenue will come in just from this event. And that doesn't even take into account projections for additional interest in Fairhill and the equestrian industry after that.
Now, does the success, in your opinion, of this year's event and your efforts to recruit other world-class events and attractions to the state, bringing even more and big events in?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime we have an event of this caliber, it spurs on other organizations to perhaps follow in tow. And so we're just thrilled to be able to have, such a worldwide spectrum of events happening in Fairhill and throughout the state.
Cynthia, Governor Hogan established October as Maryland Horse Month. 5-star is just one component of Maryland Horse Month. Tell us about what it is and why it's so important to the state.
Sure. In 2020, the Maryland Office of Tourism, in conjunction with the Maryland Horse Industry Board, approached the governor's office requesting that he proclaim October each year as Maryland Horse Month. And it was a joint effort to reinvigorate the industry, especially after the impact that the pandemic had on everything. And in addition to promoting the major events across the state, we actually have several riding trails that actually these are driving trails that have been created, and all of the businesses that support the equestrian industry are also showcased on multiple websites.
You know, when you think about this event at Five Star, there are only 7 of these events in the entire world. One is in Kentucky and one is in Cecil County. That really is a nice, important aspect of the horse industry in Maryland to have such an event like this.
Oh my goodness, yes, we're thrilled at that. And the Fair Hill complex is actually owned by the state, by the Department of Natural Resources, and the DNR group, in conjunction with the Maryland Stadium Authority, have gone to the nth degree to bring that particular facility up to the standards of a 5-star event.
You know, one of the things that impressed me when I was at the complex at Fair Hill is how immense it is, but how each section of the competition had its own area around the huge complex. I mean, you had the dressage in the front and the cross country in the back, and then you had the turf track. I mean, it was well thought out, well planned, and well executed. I mean, for the fans watching out there and for our viewers, this is a world-class facility.
Oh, yes. They won't get a better opportunity to see something of this magnitude and this caliber than coming out to the Maryland 5-star at Fair Hill.
And if you think about it, if you're attracting the granddaughter of the Queen of England as one of the competitors, you're doing a good job, Cynthia.
Absolutely. We're thrilled.
Well, the thing about this in terms of the state, and you mentioned the tourism aspect, when I was there and getting my tour and watching some of the events, I couldn't believe how many people were there from out of state. And you talk about bringing dollars into Cecil County in Maryland and Elkton, where Fair Hill is located. I mean, this is something that I'm hoping, because this is the first event, that this is going to just grow and grow and grow as the future continues.
Well, it will, and especially once international travel restrictions are totally lifted, we'll be seeing many, many more spectators coming to this particular event. And let's not forget that, we love local tourists too. And residents of Maryland love looking for events and locations that they've perhaps not visited yet to be able to support their own state.
Well, Cynthia, we appreciate you joining us. Terrific information. Good luck the rest of the way as you continue over the weekend. Now we're going to take a deeper look at what one organization is doing to introduce young people to horses. Mark has that.
Jim, the Maryland 5-Star is a world-class event with world-class Olympic riders. Most of these amazing athletes started riding in their youth. Our Charles Robinson has the story of what a Baltimore-based group is doing to literally teach students that horsing around has its benefits.
I'm Ahisamak Don. I'm the founder, along with my wife, of City Ranch, Inc. And we're a nonprofit organization that focuses on Baltimore City, but we are really a inside the Beltway organization to provide accessible and affordable horseback riding to the community.
The City Ranch is located in Baltimore County. It began in 2007 as an outreach program for city schools. It's now a farm, complete with pastures, riding trails, and practice facilities. Not only do you get to ride, but you also learn what it takes to care for these animals.
I like the horses and the most annoying horses. And that pony that just went up, Edge, he is tough but so cute that you can't say no to anything to him.
So here at City Ranch, you'll find a number of young people. But what you don't see is how it's changed their lives.
It really does calm me a lot, just having a really bad day at school, so I just come here and I ride all my worries away. It's really fun and all.
They're challenged all along, normally. But this is a different way. Here's a great big animal that they're asked to engage with. And so then that means they've got to step out of their lane. When we come into their space, their aura encapsulate us, so to speak, and calm us down. And so this is what allows the children to be able to engage with the animal.
A number of children who started in this program have gone on to try equestrian events. The proudest moment for Don is when one of his riders went to college and decided to become a horse veterinarian. I'm Charles Robinson.
Today's CIAA conference matchup coming up next at 1 p.m. on MPT pits two of the conference's annual football powers against each other. The Bowie State University Bulldogs come into today's game against the Virginia State Trojans with a 5-1 overall record and 3-0 in the conference. Meanwhile, the Trojans enter the contest a disappointing 2-3 overall, but at 2-1 in conference play. With first place in the North Division and a regular season title on the line, the stakes are high in this one. Joining me to discuss today's game is Donald Ware, the host of the Box to Row radio show that chronicles HBCU sports nationally on SiriusXM satellite radio and on over 30 radio stations across the country. And I have to add that Donald and I are both Morgan State graduates. Here talking about the Bowie State Bulldogs. Who would have thunk it? Donald, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
You have done this for a very long time. It is my pleasure to be on with you. Thank you, sir.
Well, how do you see today's matchup? Who do you think has the edge going in?
Yeah, I think Bowie State has the edge going into this game. If you look at Virginia State, playing some pretty good football right now, 2 straight wins, but they've been wins over Elizabeth City State and St. Augustine's, who aren't very strong right now. When I look at Bowie State, they haven't been great offensively. Not that they've been bad, but they haven't been great. But it's that defense that's been absolutely tremendous. You look at Jonathan Ross, you look at Dimitri Morris, and then you look at that man-child, I call him, Joshua Pryor in the middle. So I think if anybody has the advantage, it's definitely Bowie State in this football game because of their defense.
So what are the keys for both teams in this one?
Well, you know, if you're Bowie State, you want to be able to continue to play that good defense, not turn the ball over. But that offensive line has got to protect Jerome Johnson, the quarterback. He's been sacked 23 times, I believe he's been sacked this year. And if you look at Virginia State has 6 sacks in each of its last 2 games, albeit against St. Augustine's and Elizabeth City State. So if you're the Trojans, you want to put some pressure on Jerome Johnson. But if you're the Bulldogs, you want to protect Jerome Johnson, get enough done offensively, and then let that defense take over in the football game.
Do you think that the winner of today's game has the chance to capture the conference title?
I do. I think that if you look at Bowie State and what it has ahead, after today's game, it's games in terms of its harder games are behind it. Lincoln's left, Elizabeth City State's left, Virginia Union's left, although Virginia Union not playing great, they could surprise you. Meanwhile, if you look at Virginia State after today, still has Virginia Union and Shawan ahead of it. So it's going to be, I think, more of a tough going for Virginia State. But I do think with the way that Virginia State is playing, and Bowie State, of course, being Bowie State, the winner of today's game ultimately will represent the Northern Division in the CIAA championship game.
Are you surprised at Bowie's strong start?
Not at all. If you look at this team, the Bowie State Bulldogs have been in the playoffs, the Division II playoffs, the last 3 years. You know what I think, Mark? I really think that the Bowie State Bulldogs are playing against themselves. And what I mean by that is this. If you look at Bowie State over the last 3 years, it's 1-3 in the playoffs. So you want to handle your business in the CIAA, get to the CIAA championship game. But now you want to start to take that next step in terms of winning playoff games. And so I just think that Bowie State, is going to handle its business, but it's looking to take that next step and be that true national power.
Donald, I want to transition and talk for a moment about the CIAA basketball tournament's arrival in Baltimore in February. I know that basketball season isn't here yet, but this is a big deal. After we look at this clip, I want your comments on the other side.
We're celebrating 75 years of this tournament. There's so much history from this conference. CIAA basketball is strong. It's always had strength.
John B. McClendon and his friends put $500 together and they started this event. So what you had was you took nothing and you made it out into something.
Now, Donald, you and I have covered the CIAA. We've witnessed hundreds of thousands of fans who've attended the CIAA basketball tournament from Raleigh to Charlotte, and it comes to Baltimore after a 10-year run in the Queen City, where it annually had a reported $50 million impact on the area. So for people who aren't aware of the basketball tournament, what can they expect?
Well, you obviously you can expect a lot of the ancillary events around the CIAA tournament. That is, a lot of parties, a lot of celebrities, right? But at one time, and as you know this, Mark, at one time, the CIAA tournament in terms of attendance at the actual games was third only behind the ACC and the Big East. It's one of the oldest tournaments, if not the oldest tournament in terms of basketball in collegiate sports. You go all the way back to 1946 at Turner Arena when it was played in Washington, D.C. And, West Virginia State was in the conference at that time. So I like the move to Baltimore. I think it was time. After 15 years in Charlotte, it was time for the tournament to make a move. And now you're drawing on not only Baltimore, D.C., but you're drawing on New York, Philly, Jersey, Richmond, right? So I think a lot of those people that would have come from way up north, down south, that's a 10.5, 11-hour drive, now are a lot closer. And a lot of them are CIAA people. Some of them just want to see what's happening. So I think it's a great move for the CIAA tournament to now be in Baltimore.
Which is an interesting juxtaposition for the city of Baltimore, Donald, because one of the things that Charlotte was saying was that people were more about the ancillary events than they were about the basketball. This is a basketball hotbed. How do you make sure you get more butts in those seats to watch the games as opposed to just showing up to hang out and basically kick it?
Yeah, well, I think you hit it right there. I think when you look at Baltimore, you look at Washington, that area, then going up north, New York, Philly, those are basketball people loving the game. So I think the CIAA is going to do a good job in terms of marketing both. But I think, Mark, you're going to see the attendance go up and be more than we've seen it in many, many years, simply because of its location. You got Bowie State there. You have Morgan, you have Coppin, you have some teams. Obviously, they're not CIAA teams, but there's going to be a lot of interest there. I know when I heard about the CIAA, hadn't been before, had heard about the games and the talent in the CIAA, which is still there. I wanted to go for the basketball, and it didn't hurt that you had a lot of parties going on around there too. So I just think, the CIAA is going to do a good job of marketing both the ancillary events and then the basketball itself.
And then you got to give credit where credit is due. The history speaks to itself. The father of fast break basketball, John McClendon, one of the all-time winningest coaches, Clarence Big House Games. You had Bobby Dandridge and Ben Wallace going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Baltimore couldn't have a better time to be welcoming this historic basketball tournament to Charm City, could it?
No, you're absolutely right. I think Baltimore is going to show up and show out. The city is on board. Obviously, the city is very much on board in terms of really marketing this event. And again, can't overstate the fact that, listen, when it was in Charlotte, New York, people, maybe not making that drive. Now you can make the drive. It's 3 hours from New York to Baltimore. Philly's even closer. So I think all of those things lend to it ultimately being successful in Baltimore.
Donald Ware, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, you can hear Donald's analysis on Saturdays by listening to SiriusXM Satellite Radio, channels 84 ESPNU at 7 a.m., 141 HUR at 11 a.m., and 142 HBCU, or by visiting www.box2row.com. Morgan Knight, always a pleasure.
My man. Appreciate you, Mark.
On behalf of my co-host Mark Gray, I want to thank you and our guests for joining us today. And don't forget, tune in later on 5:30 today for continuing coverage of the Maryland 5-star. But up next, it's CIAA football on MPT. We'll see you at halftime, everybody. Enjoy the game.